Boys and girls at OGLE and Longleaf Elementary, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Lon Mathias from USM, and he is a real inventor who is here to share with us information about the type of thinking inventors use. Remember, we've read a story about an imaginary inventor. Who remembers her name? Everybody? Isabella. Very good. Isabel the inventor. So today you'll hear from a real live inventor and get some tips about how to use divergent thinking. So would you help me welcome Dr. Mathias by just saying good morning? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You guys all on board over there?
We are.
Excellent. Well, I am what's called a scientist. Who knows what a scientist is? Who can tell me? Can you tell me what a scientist is?
It's someone who makes inventions and like they test it out.
They test it out? Yeah. What do you think? Inventing new things, huh? What do you think, Katie? Testing what? Testing and experiencing things? Yeah.
Mr. Mathias, we have.
Yes?
All right, lady. She said.
You're coming and go. That's weird. Did you see that? Yay, whoa, you're there. There you are. Did someone have a response?
She said that you invent things.
Yeah, I invent things. Science is a process. I teach a class to people at University of Southern Mississippi who are not scientists. These are non-science majors, people that are doing theater or business or architecture, things like that. And they're hard to teach about science. Do you like science? How many of you like science?
I do like science.
Emran, do you like science?
Yeah, we like
No?
science.
You don't like science? All you guys over there like science? One of the things I teach them about science is that science is a way of doing things. It's a way of thinking. When you're thinking about something, what are you doing inside your head? What kinds of things do you think about? Do you have an idea? Do you ever think about a bicycle? No? Did you ever think about a computer? What did you think about it?
One of mine said where they're going.
She said what?
She always wonders where she's going.
She wonders where she's going? What do you think? What it's doing inside the computer, huh? Okay, you're asking a question. When you think like that, you're asking a question about something. And that's what science is. Most people think science is something really fancy and complicated, but it's really not. It's just asking questions. But there's a special way of asking questions. Do you know how many senses you have? How many people think you have 5 senses? Yeah, that's the ones we think about most, but it actually turns out there's a study that just came out where they think there's like 20 or 21 different senses. Because we have senses that we don't normally think about what they do. When you walk, you're using a sense called kinesthetic sense. Oh, did you? Excellent. Okay, it's a sense that has something to do with how your body moves. When
our brain helps our body know what to do. That's the first response.
excellent. When you look at something, what do you use to look at something with? How many people think it's your eyes? Think it's your eyes? What else do you use with your eyes when you're looking at something? What? Your brain. I asked my class that question, and most of them didn't get it right. So you got it right the first time. That's great. So using your brain is how you actually see things. Your eyes are just like a telescope or a microscope. They don't actually see anything. It's only your brain that sees things. So here's what you got to do when you're doing science. You look at things and ask questions with your brain. So you might look at something like you said you looked at your computer and you wondered how it works on the inside, right? Anybody else ever ask questions when they looked at something? You're all looking at what? Why the phone stops when you're playing a game? That's a puzzle. Yeah. What do you say?
I wonder how this chair spins like this.
Very good. So you look at something that works and you try to figure out how it works. You figure out why things happen. That's part of doing science. That's part of doing research. That's part of inventing. When you invent something, you try to come up with something that's new. Does that make sense? But how do you come up with something that's new if you've never seen it before, if you've never thought about it before? Then you make it yourself, huh? So you see it first inside your brain, and then you try to make it. Yes?
Some of our group said that you have to brainstorm in order to think.
Well, what is brainstorming? Do you guys know? You think of ideas, and what do you do? Well, that's not part of brainstorming. In brainstorming, what do you do?
Brainstorm is like your brain is burning and having thunderstorm.
Like a thunderstorm, yeah. What do you? Yeah, brainstorming is more free association. It's not trying to force your brain to think about something. It's letting your brain think about whatever it wants to while you're focusing on some idea. What have you guys brainstormed? Have you brainstormed anything?
What
You brainstormed? Did you guys brainstorm over there?
Yes, sir. What's some things we brainstormed? Trevor?
How to make cubes.
How to make cubes? Yes, we have done some brainstorming.
Cube puzzles.
Great. Well, when I'm thinking about a new idea or something that I need a solution for, sometimes you have problems, right? Something's not working or something needs to be fixed or people are sick. And you brainstorm ideas on how you could fix that problem. So you come up with ideas. What do you do with those ideas that you come up with? You don't try them first. What's the first thing you do with them? After you come up with an idea, you guys are brainstorming, okay? What do you do with the ideas that you come up with? Do you write them down? Yeah, how are you going to remember them? If somebody comes up with an idea and if somebody else comes up with an idea, how do you remember what ideas you came up with? Write them down on something, a piece of paper. You know, computers are really neat, but paper and pencil is where most ideas come from. Did you know that? People write down things, and writing them down makes the ideas real. So you think of it in your brain, you talk about it, then you write it down, you make a list, and then you go back and do what with that list? Yeah, you could try making the stuff on the list. Or you could think some more about it. Sometimes you'll have an idea, and then you have another idea, and then you have another idea. And then all of a sudden you realize that the idea that you just had relates, ties into an idea that you had before. So now you have two ideas that are connected. Could make a bigger or better machine, or could make a different kind of machine. Sometimes you'll see something, one thing, and then you see something else that's not related to it. And you say, I wonder what would happen if I put those two things together and did something different with them. You ever do that? Here's an example for my grandson. I have a grandson who's very inventive, and he had several bicycles that were broke. And he took the wheel off of one bicycle and he put it on another bicycle, even though it didn't fit. It was too small. So he had this really funny looking bicycle with a big wheel on the front and a real small wheel on the back. And he drove it, and it drove different than his regular bicycle that had two big wheels. So was it better? No, but it was different. So he tested an idea by making the thing he was thinking about. Sometimes it gives you new ideas that are good. Sometimes you don't have anything good come out of them. Okay, so now you're designing a new kind of bicycle, huh? Do you all know what a Segway is? You ever heard of a Segway? Nobody's ever heard of a Segway? This is one of the greatest inventors, a product of an inventor that lives today. This guy came up with the idea of having two wheels with a platform that you stand on, and it balances for you. So you stand on this platform between two wheels, and it doesn't tip over. Wouldn't that be neat? Okay, so imagine we've got two wheels here, and we put a platform between those two wheels, and they're going this way. Okay, so the platform is in between, while the wheels are going like this, and you stand on this platform like this, but it doesn't tip over. It holds you upright because there's something inside called gyroscopes. You ever heard of a gyroscope? You need to ask your teacher to show you a gyroscope. You can get gyroscopes that are real simple, that spin. So there are gyroscopes inside the wheels that keep you from tipping over. So you know how you make it go? You lean forward a little bit. And when you lean forward, there's sensors in the wheels that say, oh, this guy wants to go forward, and it starts to turn. So you go forward on this platform without having to do anything other than just lean forward a little bit. How do you think you stop? By leaning backwards. Real. That's very good. Sorry? Stand straight again. That'll slow you down. How would you turn? Lean to the left or lean to the right. That's how you turn on this. So what this inventor did was think about how people move, and how people move could be used to control something that they would move on, like a bicycle. We had one of these on campus the other day. I was walking to the restaurant to get a cup of coffee, and this guy goes zipping by me on the sidewalk on a platform with just two wheels on it. It was crazy looking. So there's an invention for something that people didn't think about before. People never thought you could do that until this guy came up with that idea and made it work.
2 wheels on it.
Yeah,
Going forward.
Yeah. You saw that?
Rips it.
Neat.
So the guy stand on the platform like with the 2 wheels. It kind of goes like this,
Uh-huh.
and then you like kind of do the same thing on it.
Only a little different. Yeah, there are a lot of people that when they see an invention, a new invention, they say, well, I could make it a little different. Why would somebody want to do that? Make it a little bit different. Do you know? Does anybody over there know why you would make a different type of invention from something that's already been invented? What do you think?
See if we can make something funner.
Funner or better? Y'all know what a patent is? A patent. A patent. It's called a P-A-T-E-N-T, it's called. A patent is a way for you to keep control of whatever you invented. Okay, so you invent something and you want to sell it. And somebody else says, wow, that's such a neat idea. I'm going to make it and sell it too. So you have two different people that are making and selling the same thing. But one of them has a patent. The one that has a patent can tell the other guy, you can't make that. That's my idea. And so I'm the only one that gets to make that thing. It's a protection. It's a law that allows you to be the owner of that idea. Did you know that you could own an idea? You ever think about that before?
I have a million times.
Really?
We've talked about plagiarism.
Plagiarism?
in a sense, but copyright is a lot like that too.
Copyright is just like a patent. So you guys know about copyright? Yeah.
We talked about that in the book, that we can't make our book. We're getting ready to make the book, write a book.
Your own book.
And if we took on the title this other guy had taken on, we talked about how he could come back and ask for money.
Or tell you you couldn't publish your book.
Right.
See, so you can own an idea, you can own a piece of invention or a book. And that's interesting, that you could own something like that. So how else can you come up with new ideas? Yeah. So your brain would look at it in a different way. You look at something that's already there, and how do you make your brain look at it different? You tell your brain to come up with some new stuff and it just does? You have to work at it? And you know how you make your brain do stuff like that? You ask questions. You know that brains love to answer questions. So if you ask your brain to ask questions, if you have your brain ask questions, it will come up with new answers. So what kinds of things do you think I invent? What? Like what?
Levers. You said you
No,
may invent levers.
No, I don't invent levers. I'm in what's called the polymer science department. Do you know what polymers are? Did you guys already do the polyurethane?
No.
You haven't
not
done
this
that yet?
group, no.
Okay. You guys are going to find out about polymers later on. But polymers are things that are used to make, like clothes. All your clothes are made out of polymers. Cotton is a natural polymer. That's one that God invented for us to use. See, God was an inventor too, you know. Right? He invented us too, didn't he? So we invent, in polymer science, we invent polymers that are different than what is in nature. So we come up with polymers that have different properties. Has anybody ever heard of Kevlar? You know what Kevlar is? Kevlar is a polymer that's so strong it can stop a bullet. A bullet that you shoot from a gun. So somebody invented that. Do you know who invented that polymer? It was a woman who works at DuPont, which is a big chemical company. But this woman only stands this tall. She's a really short woman. And she really worked hard at coming up with new ideas and came up with a new idea that was so useful. It's used in spacesuits, it's used in bulletproof vests, and it's a polymer. It's one of the things that I work with. So what kind of things do you think helped me become an inventor? What? Books and machines? Y'all know about books, right? Y'all read books? How many people read books here? Do you read books? Yeah? Here's what I used to do when I read books. I'd read something and I'd ask myself questions about it. I say, I wonder what they mean by that. I wonder why that worked. I wonder how that influenced the people that were in the book. And when you ask questions, your brain starts to come up with answers. So if you read books the right way and you ask yourself questions while you're reading the books, you invent things. You ever read a book about something? I read a book one time when I was a kid about another kid who invented a bicycle. And this bicycle had rocket tubes on it. So when he needed to, he could set off these rocket tubes with a switch on his handlebars. And you think that would do to his bike? What do you think that would make happen?
Explode.
No, it didn't explode.
Make it go like
Really fast. So he could go so fast, he could go past cars. Well, that was an invention that I started thinking about. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be neat to make an invention like that? And I thought, what, I'm going to put rockets on my bike. You know what my dad said?
No.
He said, no. Why?
Because
it was too dangerous.
because he might have done it. Like, he actually knew how to do it, and he knew it wouldn't explode.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
One of the things I see with the students here is when they try something one time and it doesn't work, then they say it won't ever work. Did you have to repeat your tries, your inventions over?
Oh, yeah. In fact, what they say when you're thinking about invention, if you go to learn about doing inventions, they say your first effort, the first time you try something, almost never works. You know why that is? Because it's new. When you come up with something that's really new, has anybody ever made it before? No, if nobody else has made it before, nobody's tested it, right? And if nobody's tested it, nobody's figured out what's wrong with it, why it doesn't work. So what do you have to do when you come up with some new idea?
Test it out.
How do you test it? How do you test out ideas? What do? You said it. What do you have to do with this idea? You got it in your head, your brain. And then what do you do? How do you make it? What's the first thing you do? Yeah. You write it on paper. You ever seen that? You draw a picture of it, and you draw a picture with as much information, as much detail as you can put in it so that everything's in there. And you think, this has got to work. And then you go and you make it. Oh, there's a picture. See that one?
When you all tried this, that was one of your first steps. You thought about it, you brainstormed it, and then you tried to actually make it on a piece of paper. But if we wanted to see if it would really work, what would be the next step?
We'd have to
make it and try it.
We have to get some real parts and try to put it together and figure out if it's going to work. And it may not work the first time, so should we just give up?
No.
You have to have perseverance, right? You have to keep trying, you have to have patience, and you don't want to give up the first few times. It might take you many times.
Many times.
Before you can make your invention.
See, here's a saying that I really love. You always find the answer in the last place you look. So why don't you look in the last place first? Can you do that?
One second, I mean, one like,
Uh-huh.
you'll succeed if you try.
That's a great saying, but you know what? It's not always true. Some people have tried to invent things that aren't going to work. They come up with the idea and they say, wouldn't it be great if this idea worked? Okay, here would be a great example. A car that you can fly. Wouldn't it be great to have a car that you could drive down the road and there's a traffic jam in front of you and you pop wings out, take off and go right over the traffic jam?
I was thinking of something that.
Okay, so you explain.
Can you think of anything else that would be really neat to have? What?
Like a little headband that you can put old swimming glasses on there, and it could make new sunglasses.
Right off your headband. What else? Can you think of something?
When you were talking about that car that could float, you could just like attach one rocket above each wheel, and you would have like a foot.
Push the button and have the rockets take off? Yeah, that might work. What about you? Uh-huh. Great idea. Okay, do you see how she's thinking? See what she did? She said instead of making the full-size car, the big car, we make a small one first. Because you make the small one and test it, and guess who gets hurt?
You.
No one, because there's nobody in it. So you test it, and it doesn't work. So you change it, and you test it again until it finally works. And then what do? Then you make the big car. Yeah?
There's this thing you could put it at your house, and you just have to press a button, and it pops out how to do that.
That would be great, wouldn't it? A money machine.
A car that can turn into a boat.
A what? A car that would turn into a boat? Oh, that would be fun too, wouldn't it? What's yours?
You attach it.
Okay, so you come up with these ideas. And some of the ideas people have tried over and over. You know how many people have tried to make a car that flies? Hundreds. Hundreds of people have tried to do that. And it doesn't work. Because you're taking two things that are really different and trying to make them into one thing. We have airplanes and we have cars, but we don't have any cars. We don't have any cars that are airplanes because that doesn't really work.
So you can put on our airplane and I can have people in it.
Yeah.
And we can make very big seats.
Okay, here's one of the things you have to do to invent. Sometimes you have to say, yeah, it's a great idea, but it's not going to work. I've tried the models don't work. I've made something small, and I couldn't get it to work, so maybe that's not going to be a good idea. Is that a bad thing? No, because then what do?
Just throw it away, I guess?
Or try to invent something else. Or you could invent something else with what your idea was. Yeah.
I saw
show once when this person made this mistake and it wouldn't work, so they tried again, and they just used the other thing to make that thing.
Here's an idea. This is an interesting example of an invention. Okay, this guy works for 3M. You ever heard of 3M? Have you ever heard of Scotch tape?
Yeah.
You've heard of Scotch tape? Scotch tape is, can you bring that up to me? What you got right there? No, in your hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Scotch tape uses what's called an adhesive, a glue. You know what glue is?
Yeah.
Makes things stick together, makes things stick like that. The guy was working on the scientist was working on some new glue, but it didn't work. It was really not very good glue. And he went to church one night, and he was in the choir singing. Have you talked about this?
We have.
He went to church, and he was sitting there trying to find a place in his hymnal where they were going to sing. And he thought to himself, wouldn't it be neat if I had a piece of paper that would stick to that page? But then when I was done with that, I could take it off, and it wouldn't tear the page all up. And he thought to himself, you know what? I invented a really bad glue that stuck a little bit, but then could come right off again. And so he invented this thing. You know what this is called? Post-it notes. This was an invention. Sticky notes, yeah. Other people have called it sticky notes because they want to make the same kind of thing that 3M makes. So his invention was based on an idea that didn't work really well.
We'll have to Google that sometime. That's a good question. We'll have to Google that sometime.
Yeah, that's a really interesting.
When we have a lot of questions coming, we'll just stop and Google it.
Excellent idea.
We have a book called Mistakes That Worked.
Oh, really?
We'll be sharing information about the chocolate chip cookie and Coca-Cola and various inventions that didn't work at first and then turned out to be great inventions.
Because you didn't give up. You tried them different ways, you modified them, you changed things, and you came up with something that may not be what you really were looking for, but it was still a good invention. You didn't even think of that.
Was it Gateway Computers? A guy first came up with it and said, this is not going to work. And then Bill Gates came along and says,
maybe
you're
it
right,
will.
It's not going to work. Let me work on it a while.
Okay, so I guess we should do the slides that we got, right?
I just pulled a few fit right along with what you did already. So.
One of the things I do is try to do different things. Okay, if you read this slide, it says I do polymer science. But I also do things like hobbies. You know what a hobby is? What's a hobby? Like a job that you like to do?
The second job.
A second job, yeah. Something that you do for fun. I have a tree farm. I cut down trees, and I make lumber out of them, and I make things out of those trees. And it's fun to come up with new ways to make chairs. Have you ever thought about a chair? And how a chair works? See, one of the things I do is think about how to make chairs out of wood.
I think I know.
You think they know how to work? And one of the things I try to do then is if I make it out of wood, can I make it out of some polymers that I have also? Or could I use the polymers with the wood? I also write stories. Do you know why I write stories? Do you all write stories?
I do.
You write your own stories?
One time at my grandma's house,
Yeah.
I just read a book and took it in class, and my teacher read stuff in class.
Isn't that fun writing stories? Yeah.
I draw stories.
You draw
I
stories.
know very stories.
My daughter draws stories. She draws cartoon stories.
I already have 6 stories full written.
Excellent. Very good. When you draw stories, are you inventing anything?
Yes.
Sure, you're inventing, right? You're inventing ideas, you're inventing people, you're inventing new things that go in the stories. Sometimes they're easy to make. So if you invent a story, like this, do you think that helps when you invent other things like polymers or chairs? Why is it fun to do inventions of lots of different things?
So they're new and you can try them and you can see if it works.
You can try the inventions.
And you're actually learning.
And the learning is the key part. Okay, when you learn something because of an invention, a story that you wrote, what you learn can help you in your other inventions. So you doing lots of different things can help you become a better inventor. Okay, what's this slide say? Reading is probably the best thing you can do to come up with new ideas. You read a story, you say, wow, I never thought of that. I wonder what, I wonder how. So you ask questions about things that you read. What's another one? Do we have one more? That's it. Good. Sorry? Well, we're going to take some pictures of you guys and put them up there because you guys are inventors, right? You know, there's a saying that all kids are scientists. All kids are inventors. And then as they get older, we teach them not to be inventors. I don't know why we do that. It's part of what we do in school. We teach them not to be creative.
Why would we teach them?
I don't know. Teaches them to work harder in certain jobs, I guess. Yeah. Could everybody be an inventor? No?
Or else you wouldn't have food or anything or things.
Okay, what do you guys want to be when you grow up?
An artist.
An artist. What do you want to be?
A football player and a baseball player.
Okay, you want to do sports. What do you want to be? You don't know yet? What do you want to be? Do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
I want to stay at preschool and play all day long like a preschool.
Well, you can't do that if you grow up.
That's right. She's been trying to say young.
What you going to do? You want to be a what? Babysitter? Yeah. What do you want to do?
A jet fighter.
They talked about short-term and long-term goals.
Excellent.
That's one of the things that they're trying to decide. What about you, Eden?
You don't know what you want to be? Everything that somebody said means you have to be an inventor. Do you know what one of the hardest things about being a babysitter is? Is coming up with new ideas for the kids. You have to invent new things to do, new stories to tell.
Why do you have to invent when you're an artist?
If you're an artist, that's all inventing, isn't it? What? You have to paint new things. You have to come up with something nobody else has done. And that's what invention is all about. Yeah? Okay, you've just hit on the most important part of doing inventions. What did she say? Did you all hear what she said? She does something, she does her painting, and then when she goes to sleep, her brain does something with what she was working on. Yeah. When you go to sleep at night, your brain becomes creative, invents things. From that one line, huh? Yeah, neat.
Okay, well, boys and girls, do you have any other questions for Dr. Mathias before we close the session?
What else? A flying car? You think you can do it? Yeah. Uh-huh. Great. So you try that idea out, see if it works, okay? Yeah.
You can have somebody in the rocket, and when he walks into you, you can tell them to make the rocket.
Are there any questions from the other side? You guys all fall asleep over there?
They have it on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hey, here.
You guys got any questions?
Question for him? What? I think so.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, boys and girls.
Say thanks.
Thanks.
You're supposed to say thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.